And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition here of the WardiTV Monday. WardiTV Monday number 62, your weekly dose of open StarCraft. Here we go. Welcome, one and all. I'm of course your ZvP. With me, I'm joined by these amazing players, by the Boom Chat, and by my plushies as well. Welcome, one and all. This is a little bit different. This is a replay cast. For those that are maybe a little bit newer to the channel, we would live cast this every single week on Monday, but over the past month of play, basically ever since daylight savings, we have not been covering this event, as it does start very late. It starts at like 11 p.m. here, 11 p.m. in Australia. It does start very late, and because of that, it's a little bit less viable for us to stay up until 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning to cover the event. So instead, replays are the go-to here, so we're able to bring it to you live here at this hour instead of the live timing here on a Monday. Instead, we're live here on a Thursday. Let's go. let's go, Bible, let's go. So we do have those replays, we do have those matches, and here we go. We do have our initial series. It's going to be a best of 3 between SHIN and Harstem. Really cool to see Harstem competing here. Harstem, he's a little bit more irregular when it comes to when he does sign up for these open cups, so really curious to see how he does compare. He's often a very unique player in his own right and does at times do things his own way, so we'll see how he compares to SHIN, who has been a little bit more on a tear, especially in ZvP. It's a matchup that has changed quite a bit in the latest patch and the latest map pool. There's a lot to get into. For now, let's jump in. Game 1 is going to be on Tourmaline. Let's go. As spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Tourmaline, we have the South Korean Zerg player. We have the Blue Zerg representing Weibo Gaming. WBG, it is SHIN. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the Red Protoss player from the land of the Netherlands. It is Harstem. Shopify Rebellion. Here we go. We're jumping in our first series here of the broadcast. It's going to be that PvZ, and what we just spoke about here is going to be very applicable to Tourmaline. So in ZvP, the current map pool here is much more open, much more aggressive, much more exposed bases, and as a result, we do see a lot of 3 base all-ins, especially on Tourmaline, which is the most accessible map in the map pool. Not the shortest map, I believe that is going to 10,000 feet, but here it's very accessible. We have a very large entrance here at the natural. We have a very large entrance at the third base as well, because that German taxis, Ling, Bane, Hydra all-ins, Lair Tech all-ins, killing workers early on at 3 base saturation is the go-to. We've seen it time and time again, and we'll see if we see it again here from SHIN. We'll see if SHIN does embrace that more aggressive all-in style. Now, we have seen a shift in the meta in regards to Protoss side of things. We have seen Protoss players embrace high-tech builds less. It used to be very meta to go Stargate opener in towards a third base into +1 and into Forge and into +1 and Blink, Forge and Blink, Forge and Twilight Council, in towards Storm, then into Sky Toss and Turtle up on 4 bases. But that is less viable, especially on a map like Tourmaline. So we should be seeing, for example, earlier Blink. We should be seeing instead staying on a more Robo kind of Archon-based composition, slowly building up on 3 bases before getting a 4th base instead. If not just getting on 3 bases and being aggressive instead. So we'll see how Harstem does adjust. I really like how Showtime has been approaching PvZ. Like, he has had a lot more success, and it shows, and I was very impressed with his performance against Rainer in Kung Fu Cup. We'll see how Harstem adjusts his approach instead. Show us what you got. Likewise, I mean, he could even just be aggressive himself. True. Going into Glaives, going into early Blink, going to Charge. Does have his own aggressive options. Speaking of aggressive, there it is, Twilight Council opener out of Harstem. This is very out of fashion, very out of favor, very out of meta nowadays, so this is a really bold move out of Harstem. He does pull out of gas, quite heavily actually. I was going to say, if he only pulls 1 and 1 out of gas, it should be Glaive Adapts, but he pulls 2 and 2 out of gas. Are we going into a charge all-in? To have so little gas mining here it would make sense that we only want to make the bare minimum for Zealot legs for charge and then get into just purely Zealot production. And speaking of, we are pulling out. We are cutting at 132. We still have one more. Okay, we're still mining a little bit of gas, and okay, it is still going to be glaives. It's going to be glaives, but this is a very different variation. So typically, when you keep 2 and 2 in gas geysers, when you have 4 mining gas, you go into glaive adepts, you go into a 4-gate setup, and you throw down a robo to reinforce with a warp prism. This because we have less gas to work with. No robo, no warp prism, so no way to reinforce across the map. We're going to be warping it at home instead. So this is a unique variation of glaive adepts without warp prism support. Oh, with a third. Now we see why. Jeez, we just pulled the boys. Sorry, I was just so focused on Harstem. We're just going for a link flood. We're pulling the boys. Shin is going for the all-in, and he will surround one of the adepts. Yeah, that's surrounded the drones that do get past. They do disrupt. They ensure there is no wall, and they flood in. So again, I was so fixated on Harstem's build, which was more unique, but Shin, he just pulled the boys. He just made nothing but links. He did not drone up, he did not saturate, and he is here to end the game. A couple of boys are being pulled here for Harstem, but last another pylon. Pylon's gonna go down. No more warp ins, and nothing here at the low ground. GG gets called, and Shin takes game number 1. GG. GG, well played. I do apologize. Again, I was so fixated on Harstem's unique build, which was crazy, by the way. Sorry, winding it back. So now okay. So he pulled out a gas a little earlier, which made sense considering he wasn't going for the robo, he wasn't going for the prism, he had extra minerals mining instead, and he used those minerals to get into a faster third base. Really interesting build. But he went for the forward third, which was crazy. It was insane. I'm just thinking of it like in a standard game state, in a standard game scenario. That forward third base is so vulnerable and so exposed. If a counterattack were to occur, it would shut it down. Obviously, the purpose of that third base is to hide the build, is to help hide it, to help make sure that Shin is unaware as to what's going on. Of course, Shin just went for his own all-in. I was expecting 3 base all-in, but no, he just pulled the boys on 1.5 bases and just sent it across the map. No fear. GG, well played with that way. Getting into game number 2, and we'll see if Harstem can pose a threat or if Shin will claim the series. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the Old Republic, we have the Blue Zerg player, himself representing Weber Gaming, WBG. It is Shin. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the red Protoss player, representing Shopify Rebellion from the land of the Netherlands. It is Harstem. Here we go. Let's lock in. Okay. So we are going to be looking to move out. And welcome to the Old Republic. The Old Republic is also a very we're kind of rushing. I was going to say the Old Republic is also a very exposed map. It does make it very difficult to defend and turtle up on 4 bases. So 3 base aggression is more favored here on the Old Republic. Meanwhile, we have Harstem coming in with should be a cannon rush. Let's go. Finally gets thrown down. We're setting up at the cannons. At the same time, Shin, he currently is unaware, but the Overlord will confirm. So second Overlord does move down to low ground. Second probe has arrived, and Shin will see everything. He sees 1, he sees 2 probes, the pylon, and the follow-up. Shin, he does pull a couple of boys. Behind this, going for his hatch gas pull. Standard opener out of Shin. The boys have arrived. Jesus, we pull even more. This is a bit of a delayed reaction out of Shin. We'll see if he can focus this down. He's actually going for the gateway. Okay. Nice service area on the gateway. The second cannon is going to be within range here of the hatchery. True. First cannon will finish up. More boys are being pulled. And yeah, this was a late reaction here. Like, we're not achieving anything. We don't force a cancel. One probe does get killed. Oh, doesn't get the other. And with that, Shin is in a really awkward position. I say awkward position, I mean, he should lose his base. The gas is just now being taken, so no roaches. And the low ground should go down. Now, we can see he's trying to mine as best he can, but there we go, does pull away. Thankfully, the cannons can't really deny mining here in the mineral line. They don't deny. Shin is going to be scouting. It is going to be a Cybercore follow-up, and Harstem can expand behind this. We'll see. We'll see if he expands. We'll see if he commits. As SHIN, he's going to be getting into his own roaches. With this, he will eventually break out, which is why I'm curious to see, do we go for the Stargate or the Robo? Cybercore is done. We'll see what Harstem goes for. Goes to the Nexus. Ooh, this is risky. He's going for the Nexus here before any further tech. Roaches are about to pop out, and SHIN can break out across the map. Based on the cannon positioning here, SHIN technically, I think he can kill the pylon and then just squeeze out without having to deal with this, but looks like he will commit to Ravagers. He will deal with this proxy first. As the gateway is still quite low. Interesting. Oh. Oh no! Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the Roach taking a lot of hits, taking a lot of damage. And it's a very clutch hold position micro. No Ravagers. The gateway is going to go down. Back at him, Stargate is on the way. This does put SHIN on a timer. Once the Void Ray arrives, the Void Ray will defend. Hello! Oh my god. Clutch control. As SHIN barely keeps all the roaches alive. Oh my god. Calm down, SHIN. Calm down. And SHIN, he won't lose a single Ravager yet. There's still a Stalker, of course, but he will clean this up. And SHIN is droning. SHIN, he's droning, he's saturating. Now, getting into the early game here, I still do give the edge to Harstem. Harstem, he has better saturation, the better economy. Ooh, kills one Roach. And SHIN is rushing into the lair. Now, from here, we can go into a Nidus, we can go into Roach Speed. Curious to see how SHIN recovers from here, if at all. Lord, of course, to confirm that there are oracles on the way. SHIN has got his 2 queens in the main. But again, SHIN is in a rough position. He is getting ready to Maynard. True. Spore repositions to the low ground. Oh. As Oracle dives in, there's an opening. Oh. And gets one. Gets one, gets up to 2. No, not even a bit of miscontrol there out of Harstem. Meanwhile, it is going to be Roach Hydra. Now we see what the lair was for. Hydra then is on the way. Spores in position. And SHIN expands. Okay. SHIN gets his natural. Now he has to fight for his third. Third base is now on the way. And we're still in a really awkward game state. I still do prefer Harstem's position. Behind this is going for a Gateway Explosion, Twilight Council, no Forge. This looks like Massclave Adepts. That would be a really good way to just close the game out. Just to rush across the map and wreak havoc economically. But we'll see. Going into Blink. Okay. Going into Blink instead. Of course, the Overseer is unaware as to what's being upgraded. He's unaware. Oracles, they will be able to get a cancel. Their base is denied. SHIN's still stuck on 2 bases. Now, he may just turn this into a 2-base all-in. That might have to just be the go-to. It's a difficult kind of situation just because Harstem is going for his own aggressive build. Harstem's got 5 gates. And SHIN is still recovering. As Harstem is getting an extra gateway, getting more warp-ins. He starts +1. Ooh, this is rough. So, Harstem starting +1 here tells us that he believes that he cannot kill anymore. So he's second guessing himself. He's getting ready for a later game state. If that's the case, then +1 should have been started earlier, right? +1 should have been an earlier upgrade. Getting it now tells us that Harstem wants to tech up. He wants to probe. He wants to saturate. There we go. Gases are being taken, working towards splash damage, whether it's Storm, whether it's Colossus. And this is giving SHIN an opportunity to recover. SHIN hasn't recovered yet, but he's going to be given time. As SHIN is rushing into layer tech lurkers, this is a way to slow the game down. We've seen this from Dark before, where Dark, he can fall behind early on, and Dark will just rush into lurker tech and then slow the game down and build back up. So technically SHIN, he can recover in this game. Not there yet. Walking in lurkers. Arrives and we are rushing into the late game. Okay. So with lurkers arriving here, we instantly throw down a fleet beacon. There's a lot of tech on the way though. Temple archives, fleet beacon, charge in production as well. But Harstem is working towards sky toss. Meanwhile, SHIN, he's turtling up, getting towards our lurker tech, eventually into hive. And again, it's a little bit shaky, it's a little bit messy, but we are stumbling our way into a longer game. Who do we favor? I mean, Harstem has the potential to get into Skytoss faster with the second Stargate, but there's no second Stargate yet. SHIN is building up. Important to note that I assume that SHIN was going to be working towards Hive Tech, but SHIN does not have... Oh, sorry, he does have a pit, and there we go. Hive just now begins. But can he hold on? Can SHIN survive the charge lots? Oh, I don't think he can. In a head-on fight, SHIN is okay, but there are Zealots that are going to be hitting the natural. Only one lurker to defend. Zealots say bust in, and SHIN has to react with everything. And races back home. Drones are going down. Drones he cannot afford to lose. Oof. 4 drone kills. Nice damage by Harstem. He's going carrier first. Oh, okay. Interesting. Carriers, they do not scale as well into a longer game, so this is okay currently. But once SHIN gets into Hive Tech, carrier is going to be less useful. So a little bit surprising. And SHIN is almost maxed out. Now what is SHIN missing? Vipers. Not against the gateway composition, but specifically against Sky Toss and against any kind of higher tech army. That's where Vipers come into play. SHIN has yet to start researching those hive upgrades. Well, the ship is coming in. And Harstem, can he break through? Oh, he blinks into... Oh, no! Harstem, what? He blinked into lurkers. He lost almost every single stalker. Harstem. Patience. Is that you? Is that what... Jesus. So Harstem, he blinked into lurkers, he lost everything, and Harstem, he plummets in supply. For the first time all game, SHIN takes a lead. SHIN takes a lead here. Again, he's been struggling. He was hoping that maybe something like this would happen, question mark. And now Harstem's in trouble. Lurkers, they move out. They hit the 4th base. Harstem's racing back home. I can't believe it, man. Look, there's a little bit of patience in all of us. True. It's the patience. As they'll say, break through at least one line of lurkers, but the other line takes down the 4th base. Harstem stuck on 3 bases. And SHIN does pull away. Away. The carrier kind of slowly building up, but at this point Harstem has now lost map control. Previously he was containing SHIN, that is no longer the case, and now SHIN can afford to take up Spire. Spire is on the way. Adrenal. Interesting that SHIN, he is not getting into lurker range, so no lurker range, and Harstem is still going for more carriers here. Now, before the Corruptors hit the field, carriers do have a bit of a power spike. That is true. Like, you can try to, like, brute force and overwhelm a ground army with carriers, especially with around 6 of them. And we're about to have 7. So the anti-air for SHIN is still lacking, but the Spire is almost done. Carriers are revealed. Lurker. Nice kiting. Hydras, they kite back. Storms are coming in. They do not quite connect with the Hydras. Once again, Harstem, he does move a little bit too close. Gets a couple of lurkers. We'll lose the High Templar. Templar, Ling Rumbai doesn't get much done. Zel's at home to defend. Oh, and SHIN is not getting into corruptor production. Looks like the carriers, this army may still just be too much here. Yeah, lurkers are coming from behind. They try to collapse on the High Templar. Oh, they will. Jesus. Yeah, they will be able to. The ground army is going to be shut down, but what about the carriers? Where are the corruptors, papi? That's a kill, not a cancel. And Harstem, he should have enough here. Whew. Yeah, he should have enough, should be able to break through. Again, despite the Spire, despite +1 air attack, we did commit to mass Hydra to reinforce, so limited anti-air. GG gets called, and Harstem ties up the series 1-1. Whew, GG. GG, well played. A very messy game. Very messy game. I was very shocked that SHIN actually recovered from the cannon rush. The cannon rush did a lot of damage. Winding it back, if you remember, SHIN, he pulled most of his boys to deal with it, and he failed to deal with the cannon rush. In the end, they were able to get up and running. They killed the natural base, if you recall, and SHIN was in a really rough position. So SHIN's only chance there was to turtle up again to lurkers, which he was able to do. He even took a better fight as well and gained some map control. He was working on the Spire, but again, he never really got into his corruptor production. Without corruptors, he could not deal with that army. In the end, Harstem did break through. GG. GG, well played. Harstem did break through, and that leads us into the ace match. We're going into game 3, Ruby Rock. Ruby Rock is going to be a much smaller map in the map pool. I would say that it is more riskier to go into something like a cannon rush here. The benefit of the Old Republic is because the rush distance by ground is so long, so it means that any kind of ground counterattack is delayed. Here, it will not be delayed. So let's go. As spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Ruby Rock, we do have the South Korean Zerg player. We have the blue Zerg representing Weibo Gaming, WBG. It is SHIN. And spawning in the top left hand corner here of Ruby Rock, we do have the red Protoss player, the red Protoss himself from the land of the Netherlands. It is Harstem. Here we go. So Harstem is going to block, forcing the unnatural out of SHIN. And welcome to Ruby Rock. Ruby Rock is similar to Tourmaline, does have an open and exposed third base, open and exposed fourth base as well, or I should say more accessible fourth base. So as a result, aggression is typically favored here. We didn't really get to experience too much of that in Tourmaline because the game ended so quickly, but we'll see if we can get there here on Ruby Rock. I will say once again that Harstem, it's going to be the pressure's on him to try to be active and aggressive early on and go for earlier tech. In game 1, we saw Harstem attempt to go into Glaive Adepts. Attempt to, because didn't quite get there in the end. May try to do so here or earlier blink. I feel like earlier upgrades here are going to be beneficial for Harstem just to survive, just to get a third. I'll keep an eye on him. Especially on Ruby Rock, we have seen a lot of Protoss players have success with earlier blink timings, just to break the fourth base and to give themselves some breathing room, but we'll see. He opened this game with Counter Rush, stop SHIN's natural. Or he stopped his he killed the natural, if you recall, but he also forced all the ways to be pulled. I say all, like 70%. So there's a lot of economic damage that was dealt. And once again, Twilight Council opener. Okay. So again, every game so far, Harstem has gone for a bit of a quirkier start. This time you can see he pulls only 1 and 1 out of gas. Game 1, he only had one. Never mind. Show us what you got. Game 1, we saw this. Yeah, he does have 1 and 1, so it looks like the same build that we saw in game 1 on Tourmaline. I believe Harstem, because he has so little gas income, he's going to be skipping his robo. He's going to be going for a faster third base, and he's going to be going into Glaive Adepts, but off of just gateways, without a robo, without a War Prism. This is what we saw previously in game 1. It's a really unique build. I'll be honest, I haven't seen anyone else do this. Like, the first time I saw this was game 1. Period. So it is really unique. It is really interesting. We've yet to see it work. Obviously, the goal here, the plan, the purpose is to make it look like a standard opener with a more standard third base timing and catch the opponent off guard. But SHIN already scouted. Like, SHIN already knows. So SHIN should be reacting with an earlier Roach Warren or earlier Bailey Nest. And SHIN gets us around. Picks up the Adept. Without that Adept, I believe this is going to be a cancel. Oof, yeah, Harstem is in a rough position. He'll lose the third base. Adept does wedge himself in between the mineral lines, in between the mineral patches. The Roach Horn is on the way to deal with the Adepts. And there's a lot of pressure on Harstem. He's stuck on 2 bases. But remember, the whole point of this build is to get a third. And without the third, Harstem falls behind. Otherwise, I mean, he could have a robo, he could have a War Prism, he could be across the map. So really rough start here for Harstem. SHIN's he cuts workers at 41, joining up a little bit further. We have our Mass Adept on the way. Now, because of the unnatural natural, there's no Sim City here at the natural base of SHIN. That means he cannot block off against the Mass Adept. Roach Warren is done. And we're waiting for those Roaches. As they make their way into the natural, into the third. They commit to the shade, they get into the mineral line, Lings are waiting for them, but Adepts should clean up all these Lings. I say that the surround is too good. Oh my god. Yeah, the surround is too good. Adepts are going down. We have Roaches in production. That tells us that SHIN plans to counterattack. Oh boy. And especially on Ruby Rock here, this third base is vulnerable, is exposed. So SHIN is going for the counter all in. This is building up a greater army. and Harstem, he straight up cannot defend against this, like specifically because of this. There's so much about this build that's happening. It's what I mean by that is because he delayed his robo, because he opted to pull out of gas and opted to try to get a faster third base. That means delayed immortal production. Typically, when you go into Glaive Adepts into a third base with a robo, I mean, you have immortals on the way already. You already have one, maybe two immortals to help defend against the Roach counterattack. But that is not the case with this build. He doesn't have it available to him, so he's even more vulnerable to this. And here comes SHIN. Like, SHIN is dealing with the Adepts initially. They're trying to delay, trying to buy time. Shade is cancelled, and recall will save one Adept. One Adept does recall back home. And what is the army? 6 Adepts and 1 Sentry. Oof. SHIN from here is rushing across. He's got a handful of Ravagers. By that I mean he has 5. Jesus, okay. he's got a lot of Ravagers. Coming in with this round, he wants to lock this down, and here come the Biles. Yeah, massive Biles here on the army. Oof, takes down the Adept. Immortal gets surrounded, zoned away from the shield batteries. And GG gets called. GG gets called. SHIN will take the series 2-1, knocking Harstem out of the tournament and advancing on to the round of 16. GG. GG, well played. An interesting build here from Harstem. Once again, I've never seen anyone do it before, except for Harstem in this series. We saw it in game 1, we saw it in game 3. I kind of understand the logic, only kind of though. So what I was getting at is that what this build allows you to do, one, reinforcements are delayed because there's no prism, so it's a little bit of a lighter aggression early on, but it allows you to get a faster third base. The problem is, because you're not opening up, for example, Stalker with this or any way to deny vision, the Overlord will scout and will confirm the build, will confirm the Twilight Council, so the Glaive Adept should never really do any real damage, just because your opponent should be able to respond and react by cutting workers early and by getting their roaches up and running. On top of that, as we mentioned, because the robo is so delayed, it does mean that you're vulnerable to a roach counterattack because of the lack of immortal production. So it feels very niche, and it feels really weird. I'm not convinced, personally. I'm not convinced, but I'm sure Harstem, he does have some success with it on the ladder, otherwise he wouldn't do it here, unless it's like a content thing and he's like making a video out of it. It's possible. I don't know. But GG, well played. With that, SHIN will take the series. He will take the series. I appreciate that Harstem was very quirky with his builds. I appreciate that, at least. You know, we had this weird like Glaive Adept build twice, and we had a cannon rush as well. So I do appreciate that that, you know, Harstem, he was playing very abnormal and out of the norm. It's a nice breath of fresh air. But yeah, interesting. Definitely something that I'll keep an eye out for next time, and we'll see if Harstem continues to do this or if he was just testing it out, right, and seeing how it would play out.